Hey there, it's Tyler with AIWritingSchool.com, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to use AI tools like a professional writer and marketer. Like I said, I am the founder of AI Writing School, and the reason why I'm creating videos like this and creating content on my website is I want to show you in real time what I'm learning and how I'm using AI tools. I don't want to wait until I'm the world's best expert at AI writing. I want to show you in real time what I'm learning, what I'm seeing, and how you can personally use it in your day-to-day task. Now, in my experience, writing really comes down to your taste, your perspective, and how uniquely you can weave that into content. And that is why so many people struggle with AI writing. They create a task or they put a prompt together and just expect the AI tool to do its magic. And yes, it can create content in a snap of a finger. But what really is going to separate people in the future is how they use the tool. I was actually listening to a podcast yesterday by someone whose name's Chamath. He's a venture capitalist and well-known leader of a podcast called the All In Podcast. And he was talking about the future of AI and how dangerous it is for some people who are just looking at AI kind of from a spectator seat, but not actually learning how to use it well. And he said that the future of AI really will come down to who has good taste and can use that taste with the tool. So really it's all coming down to how do you actually go about using the tool? Because as a professional writer who's written for places like Huffington Post and HubSpot, I use AI writing tools differently than someone who is not a professional writer. And it's no different than how a doctor might use it if I'm not a doctor. He's going to have specialized knowledge and perspective and experience that other people like myself would not have. And so that's why I'm creating content like this today and other content is because I want to show you how I'm using it, using my own perspective, personal experience, and taste. Let's jump into it. All right, nothing fancy here, but I want to show you my method for AI writing. As a professional writer, the method that I teach at AIWritingSchool.com is the TIP method. What's the TIP method? It stands for train, instruct, and polish. And let me dive into each aspect of this model and this method and show you how you can start using it yourself. So first, train. This is about tasteful prompting. There's that word again, taste. Tasteful prompting and identity shaping. We want to use our taste, maybe even provide examples of our own writing or the examples of those that we admire. And that requires having good taste and knowing your niche and your audience. That's where it comes into play here. And then identity shaping. This is giving an identity to the AI. So we want to give an identity of you're a world-class blog writer or SEO specialist or a marketing strategist, whatever it is that you're needing the perspective of, you want to give it that identity. You want to give it that identity from the very start. Next, let's move on to the second part, this instruct. All right, so we train it by providing it content or context, and you can either type this out, you can copy and paste it, doesn't really matter. You just want to provide it some training material. Once you've trained it, the next thing is you want to instruct it. And I typically recommend training it with one prompt, letting it respond, and then instructing it with what instructions you have next. You can combine steps 1 and 2. It typically works out better if you do it step by step using chain of thought. And what is chain of thought? It is basically breaking down a task into one thought to the next thought to the next thought in sequential order or chronological order. Instruct, this step is really about setting the parameters. This is where you instruct it with intentional thought, and you want to say, I want a blog post or I want a newsletter. But I also recommend setting parameters on that. How long of a blog post? Well, how many word count? What kind of newsletter? How long of the newsletter? What style of the newsletter? All of this is really important to consider as you are prompting, as you are instructing, and providing it context so that it doesn't have generic output. When you train with taste, give it an identity, and then instruct with intent, what you have done is essentially taken a generic, potentially generic output, and you've refined it and narrowed it down to actually be specific and therefore interesting. Specific is interesting, generic is not. And that is where being a professional writer and having that knowledge, it helps. It really helps the output and make it not so generic. The last part is really where experience comes into play. And the more experience you have as a writer, the more experience you have as a reader, the better this step will take place, and that's polishing with your perspective. Now, even if you just edit with your perspective of the space or your niche, that still it improves the output because you're making it more and more specific and therefore more and more applicable. If you have specialized experience, if you have specialized even anecdotes, if you can edit with a story that relates to the topic, that is going to make it more unique. AI cannot fake a story that happened in your life. You have to provide it. Now, you can edit with the tool itself. You can ask Claude, hey, edit this blog post with this perspective, with this experience. All right, I just want to leave you with this. Train with taste, instruct with intent, polish with perspective. If you can remember those 3 steps, your AI writing will outpace anyone else's. I guarantee you, because most people are not training with taste and most people are not polishing with perspective. What most people are doing is they're just instructing, and maybe not even with intent. Most people just think they can throw a prompt in Claude or ChatGPT and get great output, and that's just not the case. What I really recommend is focus on training with taste, giving it training content, and then polishing whatever you instructed it to create with your perspective. All right, one more thing that I think could be helpful here is an example I like to use is the example of David, the statue of David, and Michelangelo. Michelangelo was an artist. He approached that granite or that marble, whatever it was, he approached it with the taste of an artist and knowing that it really mattered how he used that tool, that chisel, or whatever tool he used. He knew it was important how he used that. See, a big block of marble or granite in my hands, I'm not going to create much out of it. I'm not a trained artist. So if I grab a tool and I just go to the town hitting that piece of rock, it's still going to look like a rock. But if you have taste, if you have intent, if you have experience that's valuable, and it doesn't mean that you have to be a valuable writer, like an experienced writer. You don't have to be, but you need some experience. You need some life experience and perspective in what you're writing about. And you can learn that pretty quickly now, especially with tools like AI, where you can even do the research. But you have to have that perspective that you include and train with taste, instruct with intent, and then polish with your perspective. It's all about polishing. If not, it's just going to be generic. It's going to be like this rock here. But when you train with taste, when you instruct with intent, when you polish with perspective, it's all about how you go about doing that. And that's what all my videos are about, is teaching you not only to become a better AI writer and get better output, but become a better writer, a better thinker, because that is really what's going to separate those who use AI writing tools in the future. It's going to be those who know how to instruct with intent and train with taste and polish with a perspective. That's what the tip writing method is about. If I leave you with nothing else, I just want to encourage you to really think through how you're using the tools and don't get discouraged when there's generic output. Ask questions. Be curious of why is my output generic? And think about the tip writing method. Am I training with taste? Am I instructing with intent? Am I polishing with perspective? And there's probably ways you can dial those areas up where your content will be much, much better and you will become a much better AI writer. If you want to dive into more of this, I actually have an AI writing cheat sheet that's absolutely free. I will link it in the description of this video. You can just go to the website aiwritingschool.com and you'll see a button to click, or you can hit the link in this video. But regardless, that AI writing cheat sheet really goes in depth about this method, and it gives you some prompts that are free and will really help you supercharge your AI writing and just kind of give you a boost. Regardless of where you're starting at. It's great for beginners, of course. It's also great for those who are experienced and kind of want to take things to the next level. And have plenty more videos on the channel that walks through things more in depth using our method. And thanks so much for watching, and please let me know if you have questions about this or anything else. I would love to create more content that helps you become a better AI writer.